Okay, not very, we just have a few examples on the front here to do. So step one, again, we're just going to review point slope form. Okay, so on this line right here, I want you to write the formula. Right, with all the x's, the y's, and the m's, write point slope form. And if you need to go back and look it up, that's fine. Okay, point slope form. Who's got it written down? Ben, go ahead. Go ahead.
Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1.
Yep, very good. Y minus y1 equals m. So I'm going to recommend we write that out as our first step on every problem that says write something in point slope form, or it's going to be necessary in other problems as well. Okay, so this is a formula you just have to know. Okay, so if you don't know it, I would write it out 4 or 5 times. The more you write it out, the repetition will kind of help you remember that. Okay? All right, so point slope form, we'll write this again several times going forward. So let's do an identification here. So identify the point and the slope used to write the following equation. Okay, and so point, you're thinking x1, comma, y1, and m should come to mind when you see the word slope. So if it helps you to do this, if it helps you to write the formula right above it, go ahead and do that. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So usually the m is a little bit easier to identify. You guys have some lines on your paper. Let's see, point, slope. So the slope is usually very obvious right in front of us. We just identify. So negative 1/4. So remember, I have to have a subtraction in here. So because this is a subtraction, your x1 is a positive 4. Okay, so I know the x1 is a positive 4, not a negative. And because this says plus 5, it used to say y minus negative 5. So if it helps you to write that out so that you clearly see my x or my y1 is a negative 5, go ahead and do that. I know sometimes a lot of people will just say, okay, I'm just taking the opposite sign, right? So when I see a plus 5, the point is really negative 5. When I see a negative 4, the point is really positive 4. You can do that if you want. You just have to keep straight, when we want to do the opposite sign. Okay, so if you're having a hard time identifying that point, come up with a different way, I guess for you to see that. Okay, so there's our point and our slope. So we're going to do some writing of equations these next 3 examples. Okay, does anybody have any questions, comments, anything to go over? Okay. All right, well, let's look at this next one here. Write the equation of a line in point slope form. Okay, so right here, I'm thinking, all right, I need this formula, and it goes through those 2 points. Step 1, write down the formula. Okay, so write down the formula for this one, just the general point slope form. Alicia, what's your formula you wrote down?
Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x.
Okay, so at least I know that my answer needs to end in this format, because when we start talking about points or slope-intercept form, sometimes it says put it in slope-intercept form, sometimes you want to keep it in point slope. So you want to make sure you're looking at the right formula. So I need 2 things to write an equation. A slope and a point. So I have 2 points over there. So I really need one of the 2 points. It doesn't matter which one. But I need a slope. How do I get my slope? Yes, Hannah? Use the slope formula, that y2 minus y1 formula. So we're going to need to do a little side calculation over here. Y2 minus y1, difference in y's over difference in x's. So you have the ability to calculate it. So it doesn't matter, if you want to label your points, you can. If we want, we can call this x1, y1 for purposes of slope. X2, y2, you can do that. Okay, so let's substitute in. So I'm going to take my second y minus my first y. So I'm going to do 2 minus negative 8. And I write both negatives down. Okay, I'll come back later and make that a positive. Second y minus first, or I'm sorry, second x minus first. Negative 4 minus 2. Once you have that written down, then come through here and make it plus. So I'm really doing 2 plus 8. So negative 4 minus 2 is a negative 6. And always reduce slope down. Don't turn it into a decimal, but let's simplify it down. So this negative on the bottom, I'm going to pull that out to the side. Usually it's just a negative in one of the two spots. So I can reduce it, divide both by 2. Looks like 5 over 3. Okay. So here is your m. All right. So let's plug in the m. And really there's two correct answers here. We can pick this point as our x1, y1, or we can pick this one. They both would be correct. Okay, so pick one of the 2 points and finish out the equation. I'll write them both up here in a minute, but pick either the 2, negative 8, or the negative 4, 2, and go ahead and write your answer down for this one. Or if you want to write both of them, you can. Okay, don't need to, they both will be fine. Alright, these are your 2 possibilities. You just needed one. Okay, they both do require a double negative to be switched on one of the x1 or y1. Okay, so this one is the first point, and then this one is if you graph the second point. Okay. Okay. Any questions? So far so good? Okay. Well, let's look at these last 2 because they're a little bit different, but we're going to still use these same elements in order to write our equation. So number 4 says, is the relationship shown by the data linear? If it is, let's go ahead and write an equation. So if you think about linear, if I were to graph a linear equation, what would I have on my graph when I was done? What do you think the word linear means? Yeah, it's a line. So in order to have a line, I need a consistent incline or decline, which is your slope, your rate of change. So I need to double check, let's see the pattern on the x and the y. Let's see if that change in y over change in x is the same for all sets of points. Okay, so let's start with pattern. So let's notice what's happening with these y's here. So from 4 to 6, that goes up by 2. Now 6 to 7 only goes up by 1. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I don't make my decision based on just the change in y. I need to do the change in x and divide them out. All right, so -1 is going up to 3. It's going up by 4. 3, 4, 5, that's going up by 2. 5 up to 11 is going up by 6. Okay, so now let's look at, remember that little triangle back from slope means change. So I'm going to write 3 ratios here, the y over the x. So 2, change in y over change in x, 2 over 4, and I'll come back and reduce it in a minute. Second one, 1 over 2, and then 3 over 6. And so when we reduce them down, do they say the same thing? Well, 2 over 4 is a half. So that matches my half here. 3 over 6 is also a half. So if we have the exact same, if I don't know it's linear, I need to see if I get the same slope. Okay, so I'm going to say here, need same slope. If I go to do those ratios and I get like a half, a third, and a half, it's not linear and it wouldn't make a straight line on a graph. Okay, so there's no reason to write an equation because point slope makes a linear equation. Okay, now I'm good to go. Let's do point slope. Okay, write the formula down, step 1. Okay, 1 minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I have my m. And here's your what we did here. That's our slope. Okay, so this is our m. How about x1 and y1? Where do we get x1 and y1 from? What do you think? X1, y1. Jenna, where do you think I would get that from? Yeah, pick a point. We've got 4 options. I'm just going to pick the first one, okay? That way I'm not going to write all of them out, okay? But we can call that one x1 and y1. You have 4 correct answers here, honestly. Any of them would be fine. But I'll just grab the first one. Okay, so I'm doing y minus, y1 is 4, equals the m we got is the half, x minus -1. Now, if you're to the point where you can look at that and you know that's +1, that's fine. You can skip that first step, but make sure you don't skip it unless you're consistently doing them right every time, okay? Because it's super easy just to miss a negative as you're calculating. All right, so there is my equation from the table. Okay, I'm going to have you do the last one. Does anybody have any questions on this one they want to go over or anything to clarify? Well, if you're good here, I want you to try that last one. Check your change in y over change in x. Okay, and then write an equation if you get the same slope all the way down. Alright, so I'm getting a 2/5 as our slope. On your pattern, these numbers are fairly close together. I usually just kind of count in my head. You can always, when you're trying to find how a pattern is changing, you can always take the second number minus the first if that's easier. Like 19 minus 4 is 15. You could do 1 minus -1 is 5. So if you have numbers that are really far apart, sometimes we can't count in our head. So take second number minus first. You can use your calculator, whatever's easier for you, to get to that correct, pattern. So this will make an equation. And again, I'm just going to grab the first point. If you already are ahead and wrote a different point, that's fine. So I'm just going to pick this one. So I'll have y minus -7 equals m, 2/5. X minus -11, so they both will change. So y plus 7 equals 2/5, and x plus 11. Okay, so again, that's just the first point. You can just pick another one. Okay, so on these last two, rather than me just coming right out and saying, hey, here's the point, here's the slope, we calculated the slope and just grabbed one of the points. All right? Okay. Does anybody have any questions or anything to clear up that I went over? All right, well, looks like my clock is broken. I put a new battery in that a couple weeks ago. It's 8 o'clock. We've got about 17 minutes. So if you guys want to get started on the homework, I think I have it published in Schoology. It looks like a number of you did not do last week's point split homework. So if you want to go back and start that one, you can. But we've got, about 15 or so minutes here. If you have questions on some of them, maybe you're in the middle of it and didn't know that's why you didn't submit, let me know. I can come around and give you help or get you started on some of them. Okay, but let's use this time to get as much done as you can.